Welcome back to Paranormal Patio. If you're just stumbling across this episode, all of our episodes are available with links provided on our website, paranormalpatio.com, or you can find us on most of your podcast apps and websites, except for Apple. It's a personal decision. As of this recording, Paranormal Patio is ranked number 1 in our category on Podomatic, and I just want to thank all of you guys who have tuned in, listened, and downloaded all of our episodes, or even just a couple, because you helped get us here. And the next stop is breaking the top 500 overall, and we're at 575. So I'm excited to see where that goes. But more excited to share with you tonight my interview with Kiki Dombrowski. Kiki is a practitioner of witchcraft, tarot, and I thought that's what this episode was going to be about, but it ended up being something totally different, and I think you'll all enjoy it. It ties into this what has become an overarching theme in my show. It all goes back to Kentucky. Anyway, here we go.
You're listening to the Paranormal Patio Podcast. Pull up a chair.
All right, welcome back to Paranormal Patio. As always, I'm Jason. My guest tonight, Kiki Dombrowski. We're going to talk about all kinds of crazy cool stuff, and we don't even know what we're going to talk about, to be honest. Kiki, how you doing tonight?
I'm so excited to be here. I'm so happy to talk to you and looking forward to wherever this path takes us this evening.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I am also very excited, especially with the conversation that we just had a little bit ago. A hidden connection in Kentucky.
Oh, I know. You know, it's so funny too, because now I'm trying to figure out where these so I'll just say this, for listeners, we were talking about all this strange stuff that happens in Kentucky. And I was mentioning to you, I was like, wow, I was looking up to see where there were ley lines going through Kentucky. And I'm looking right now, and I just pulled up one, and one goes through Evansville and really, really close to, across the river in Shawnee National Forest. So that it's such an interesting area. Kentucky is just so cool. It is. It is. And listeners of my show know how fascinated I have become with the state of Kentucky. Yeah. And I lived in Nashville for over a decade. So I've spent a little bit of time up in Kentucky. I've visited the Mammoth Caves. I don't think that I've really gone. I think I've done the guided tour, so I haven't done anything, extravagant, but I've been through, and, I love the woods there. It's a very interesting vibe in Kentucky, and it shifts and it transforms quite a bit depending on what area of Kentucky you're in. And so I think it's interesting to be on the east side and, be in the woods, hugging the AT and, the mountains. And then if you go to the other side and, you're on the rivers. So it's just it's the Ohio River, isn't it? And the Mississippi. So
the Ohio, yeah, and then off of the Ohio at Smithland, that is the start of the Cumberland River. Wow, yeah, and so and then that takes us out to Tennessee. So wow, yeah, I think there's something interesting about being by the running water as well, and just kind of like while we've been talking, I've been looking at the map and thinking about how. So the Mississippi and the Ohio River kind of conjoin in that area. So I think, so it's just, the energy is just really incredible in the area. And now I have to go camping out there again. I'm so fired up about Kentucky. I'm like, man, I'm going to get up there and go hiking, get out in the woods. Yes. Watch out for snakes though. Ugh, yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to say watch out for Bigfoot. No, don't watch out for Bigfoot. Like you find Bigfoot, embrace that. But yeah. So, why don't you give the listeners a little background about who you are, what you do, and all of that good stuff?
Sure. I'll try and keep this nice and sweet. So, I'm originally from Connecticut. I grew up in New England. Been all over the place. Love to travel. Love to talk about travel in different locations, as you know. But along the way, I really started to pick up this like super devoted interest in spirituality and high strangeness and sacred places. And so those are kind of the things that are really precious to me. I've been studying witchcraft since high school. I've been reading tarot since high school, actually a little bit earlier than high school with tarot. And so I'm pretty knowledgeable about those things at this point, although there's always room to learn more. And, it's been a really great ride for me learning about tarot and witchcraft. I love to teach it to other people. I write. I literally just this past week submitted my, the draft of my book, A Curious Future, to my editor. I doubled it in size from the first edition, which I self-published, and now, Which Way Publishing is going to pick up the second edition, which I'm so excited about. So I study a lot of divination. And you and I found each other through social media, through Twitter. We hang out with a lot of the same like-minded people who are fascinated by the strange and the unusual. And so I'm really always excited to talk to people who have had unusual personal experiences, but that they still somehow fit into a great picture, that all says the world is still full of magic, still full of mystery, and there's something otherworldly that we can tap into and possibly learn a lot from.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations on the book, by the way.
Thank you. I'm really excited to get that out. I'm not sure when. Yeah. I wanted it to be sooner, but you know, life happens, pandemics happen, and you know, stuff just slowed down to like a crawling pace. But, you know, I love to write about witchcraft and magic and divination. And I am a contributing writer in another book that's coming out, next month on love spells. I think that my contributions were more about divination with love and, you know, self-love but the book covers everything. It's not just like, you know, sexy or romantic love. It's like how to love yourself, how to love your family, how to love your friends. So yeah, I try and just support the community by sharing my research through written word.
That sounds awesome. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's worthwhile, purposeful work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes it's, you know, it's a passion project and there's a lot of people who love it and are passionate about it. So trying to, find your voice in the community and being, you know, coming from a place of love and a place of wisdom, it takes a lot of work. You know, to get all that research and to get your words together the way you want it to. So it impacts people in the best possible way.
Yeah. So what happened in your life that brought you into the interest of high strangeness?
That is a great question. Wow. And you know, I'll share a super personal story that I don't think I've shared on a podcast yet. I will say that from a very young age, I had experiences. So what I'm going to share with you is a story about what happened to me when I was really sick when I was about 5 or 6. So, first of all, at 5 or 6 years old, I was already having very unusual things happen to me. I kept having nightmares about gray aliens. Like, as a little girl, I mean, like, maybe I saw the face of it. Like, cause remember that Whitley Strieber's book, communion. Is it communion?
Yeah,
so like the only thing I could think of is like, well, I probably saw the gray aliens through, TV, or I saw that little spooky gray face, because that is a terrifying cover. Like I feel like I must have seen it somewhere, but as a child, I constantly had all these nightmares, and I'll tell you the truth, and we're going to bring it right back into Kentucky right now. So some of my nightmares, I would have nightmares where I lived on a farm, and I would have all of these interactions with extraterrestrials, like living on a farm. And so it makes me think of, what was the Hopkinsville? Is that it?
Hopkinsville.
Hopkinsville. It makes me think of that, like the goblins. And so like even at a young age, I was kind of having these like strange nightmares, and strange experiences. I was always the person that had like the imaginary friend. I always had these like crazy vivid dreams. At one point I had said to my mother, do you remember when we lived on a farm together? It obviously, like, I grew up in the suburbs of Connecticut. My mother's like, I think you're mistaken. We don't live on a farm. We live outside Hartford, Connecticut. Come on. So when you get young and you get really gross sick sometimes, I was very, very sick one holiday season, very, very ill. Both of my ears were infected. I had pink eye in both eyes, stuffed up. I had a fever, and I was just so unwell that I don't know. I just, as a child, and you feel that bad, you just don't know what to do other than to just lay there and try and sleep. I remember in this illness, I had woken up to what was the most beautiful music I'd ever heard in my entire life. Like, to this day, I'll never be able to replicate the sounds that I heard as that in this childhood experience. It was harp. It was very string, very etheric. And, it was almost like coming from the foot of my bed, but I couldn't really place it because it felt like it was all around me. And this is really also interesting too. Like, I have a terrible memory. So for me to be able to like clearly remember all of this is shocking in itself. But anyways, this happened when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And very shortly after this sort of like nighttime experience, I started to heal. I improved. Like my face unclogged, and I grew up in a Roman Catholic family and went to catechism, after I was healthy, and I told the nun, or, the nice lady who ran the catechism about what had happened. And she said, well, Mother Mary came to visit you. And so I think from that point on, at a very young age, I just had these peculiar experiences, whether or not it was Mother Mary, or whether or not, I was having these flashbacks to a past life with alien encounters. I don't know, but having stuff like that occur to me at such a young age, and really, no matter how much people tried to make me normal, it just didn't happen. I just kept on seeking out experiences like this as I got older. I got into tarot because that seemed like a very, clever step to take, after having all these vivid dreams and having this vivid imagination and having this connection to sort of whatever spirit experience I was already having very, as a child. And I just feel like I'm trying to catch it, like I'm just always chasing it. And so I'd say that, yeah, that's really the most honest answer I could give you. The reason that I started getting into this stuff was because as a little girl, before I had known any better, before it was like pushed out of my life, like all of these kinds of strange experiences were validated through what I encountered, whether in a dream state or, firsthand.
So I have also had a dream about gray aliens. It was just a few years ago.
Oh no.
My friend John, who's on the earlier episodes of the show with me, he and I were in this dream, and we were taken by gray aliens, and we were in this empty void that was nothing but a purple gridwork cubicle.
Oh, no.
And there was this strange, like air current that like winded its way through this grid, and you could jump in this air current and it would take you to like a different little cubicle area. And we were both like elated, like, hey, you know, we've been chosen, you know, we've been taken, and it's something that both of us, I think, would embrace. But I was overwhelmed by sadness at the same time, because I didn't get to tell like my wife and my kids that I was going to be gone. Oh. But I knew that I would never come back.
Wow.
And it was an incredibly lucid dream. As far as like, I didn't know I was dreaming necessarily, but I had full control over my actions and what I was saying. John was just riding this current around like a roller coaster most of the time, but I was trying to explore it, and occasionally, like, I'd come across some weird out of place artifact, like a potted plant or a desk. Those details are foggy now because it's been a few years, but it was really weird. And I mentioned earlier that I had studied astral projection a lot in my younger years and practiced a lot. And I have read multiple times about like these higher planes where it represents itself as a grid work. And I kind of wonder what exactly was happening that night. Of course, I woke up and I didn't go anywhere, but you could not have convinced me otherwise while it was happening.
You know, and that's interesting too, and it makes me think of, I'm trying to think of the word, I'm trying to get the word out, but like, you know how people will say that like we live in a matrix?
Yeah.
It's almost like you were pulled out of the matrix.
Yeah, it was an odd and unique experience for sure.
Yeah. Man, I'm really thankful that I don't have the alien. I've had some really weird, like I have very, very vivid dreams, and I'm really interested in prophecy and people's prophecies. And actually the Conspiranormal, you know, they had their Conspiranormal, Strange Realities conference. I talked about prophecies because like I have dreams where I almost feel like I'm having these premonitions and these prophecies, and I kind of just put them in a pocket somewhere, and just keep them for myself, just because like I don't want, you know, what if I'm wrong? You know, what if I'm right? Oh my God. But fortunately, most of my dreams don't have like the great aliens that I experienced as a little girl. Like they would like walk through walls. They would levitate. They weren't limited by the 3D world that we're in. And so that kind of goes along with you being in that kind of grid work with those out of place, like, there's a house plant, you know, like,
yeah.
Makes you wonder, like, what does our world look like from their perspective? Like, what do they see? So. Yeah.
I never thought about that, but yeah, that's an interesting, outlook on it. I have vivid dreams a lot. Well, not a lot. I have like little clusters. So I may go weeks without remembering any dreams, but then when I do remember them, they're the craziest dreams. People at work love whenever I've had a dream because the stories are fantastic.
That's awesome.
We were just talking this past week at work about some dreams, and I realized that I have dreams about driving through flooded water a lot.
Ooh, you know, and man, that's something that a lot of people, I think that this is an experience of humanity, and maybe, you know, your listeners can send us messages if they're a part of this, but man, I have flood dreams all the time. I don't know what it means, and I've heard other people talk about it too. at least you're driving through it. And me,
Yeah.
in my dreams, I just see giant tsunamis.
Wow.
Which is not pleasant. But I hear that also means that I'm overwhelmed by emotions, and I am.
That's what I found whenever I looked it up too, and I don't feel that I am, but it's interpretation, and that's all it is.
Well, and that's interesting too, because with dream, like you could go buy a dream journal, or you could just Google I had a dream about my teeth falling out, and Which is
supposed to be the most common dream in the world too, by the way.
I know. Ugh, gross. It's the worst. I hate those kinds of dreams. And you wake up and you're like, are my teeth still in my face? Oh my God. But I think that at some point, especially for people who, really believe that there's something else going above and beyond, just this, the five senses. I would, look stuff up. Sure, go ahead and look up, what does flooding mean? But you might also want to go and ask your friends, what are you dreaming about lately?
Yeah.
Or what are you watching on TV? Or maybe you need to meditate. One of the cool things that I like to do with dreams is, when I wake up, if the dream hasn't finished, I will actually almost meditate and complete the dream in that half awake state. And then also too, the best way to remember dreams is to write them down.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's so weird. The more you write them down, the more you remember. So I always, those crazy dreams you have, and telling them to people too, it helps keep it fresh. It helps to keep it fresh in your memory.
Yeah. Something that I've realized also with these flooding dreams is that whenever I hit the water in the car, my perspective always changes to a third person perspective.
Wow.
And the craziest one that I had, and they always get a kick out of this one, I was outside and just on some suburban street, and I had this remote control car, and I was playing with this remote control car, and then I shrunk down and was inside of the remote control car, and I went into a ditch. And I woke up choking and trying to breathe, and I couldn't, and I finally let out one of those big gasps, it was really, really just nonsensical and crazy, but it affected me physically there for a good 45 seconds. I thought I was dying.
It's panicking. Yeah. And so I get it. We could totally I'll Google it right now. Flooding means, a release of emotions, having to, work through, repressed emotions. But I don't know, if it's that vivid, if it's that powerful where you physically are responding to it, there's gotta be other things that we have to start questioning. Whether it is repressed emotions or more. But I think that it's very interesting that people, we're living through a really amazing time and a very terrible time and a very shocking, chaotic time, but also a very prosperous time, but a very impoverished time. It's really crazy out there. So I would feel like people's dreams are going to be impacted because they're, we're all suffering from a lot of anxiety and getting cooped up and getting ready to get out into the world again, or hoping to at least. I don't know. It's an interesting time to be alive. But I think that my point is that when we have such vivid dreams, we need to pay attention to them and not just think that this solution comes from reading a Google entry.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out this flooded thing because I don't feel like I have any emotional problems. I feel like I'm pretty stable in that regard. I live a happy life. I don't come home and dread things. I don't dread going to work. I don't have any, I feel like I've dealt with my, issues in the past and I've conquered a lot. Yeah. I don't feel like I have these things that Google says I should be dealing with, Well,
it sounds like too, maybe you have a lot of work to do at the river. It sounds like you have that special connection with river energy too. So maybe you're getting called back to Shawnee and the Ohio River.
Well, yeah, that calling definitely exists. That's for sure. Fans and listeners of the show know my connection with Smithland and the crazy, crazy stuff that's happened in Kentucky. It all goes back to Kentucky, really. That's what happens. It's just everything about life is an aspect of Kentucky.
That's the next podcast. It's going to just be called It All Goes Back to Kentucky.
Maybe that'll just be the name of this podcast episode, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a cool place. I can't wait to get back there again. I can't wait to go hiking there. I really want to experience Mammoth Caves, but I have an extreme claustrophobic fear. So like, I do not like closed spaces. I'm not really a cave person. Like, we were in, before the pandemic, I was in Belize and Guatemala and had the opportunity to go into caves. And I was like, unless they're like massively big and I could see the light of the outside, I'm not going. So I went to a few. They were massive, and it certainly, I just think that cave energy is really fascinating, and it's really special in the Yucatan because the Mayans saw the caves as representative of the underworld. So there's this really interesting energy of just going into a different universe, physically, but also, spiritually going to a different place. It's really special, but I just love that, in Kentucky, right here in Kentucky, you could have the same experience of the underworld descent.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So you're familiar with the Shawnee Forest area. Have you been to Cave in Rock, Illinois?
I don't think so.
Okay, so
I'll look it up.
I'm a bit of an expert myself. Cave in Rock is Illinois Route 1 runs directly into the Ohio River. Like, it doesn't stop. It just goes into the river. There's a ferry there that will take you across the river to Kentucky. And the town where the ferry is called Cave in Rock. And there is a state park there called Cave in Rock State Park. And there's a lot of history with river pirates and things in that area that use the cave as a means to ambush, unsuspecting passersby. So there's a lot of dark history there. The cave isn't real big. I mean, it's a big open cave. It's not claustrophobia inducing, so to speak. But the cave only goes back maybe 100 yards, and there's just this little tiny side chamber off to the side that you could walk across in 15 seconds. But the next time you go, you should definitely check it out.
I will. I love the idea of pirates not on the sea. like land pirates, highway pirates.
Well, there is a rich history of all of that right there in that area and in Livingston County and Crittenden County. There's a whole bunch of, frontier river pirate stuff. Yeah. A lot of rich history.
Yeah, and same with Natchez Trace down in Tennessee. The Natchez Trace had a lot of issues with pirates along that. And that was river too, I think. I mean, there's river along the Natchez Trace. Somebody could fact check me.
We don't do that here. This is all wild speculation.
What? So that's interesting. Cave in Rock. Okay, I've taken a lot of notes for this this conversation that we're having. Good. Yeah, I love it. I have all of these places. It's kind of, I am a big time traveler. And one of the things I love to do is look for places that I feel, I love to talk about the spirit of place or the energy of a place, and really having communication with the land that I'm on. And so I'm always looking for interesting places to go hang out and visit. And that I'll put on my list for when I drive away from the coast again, which I think I'll be in Nashville in June, and then I'll be back again for Strange Realities in September. So I'll be there.
You really, really need to listen to Penny Royal.
Good. Okay. I'll listen to it on that long 10-hour drive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the sort of tagline that they've used is the magic and mystery of place. Yeah. And the entire purpose when they started was to see if the people affect the energy of a place or if the energy of a place affects the people. That's kind of the general premise.
That is a good question to ask. I feel like that's why people go on vacation, right? That's why people travel. That's why people move. I don't know. I'm thinking of my life personally, like, cause I've lived all over the place, and I feel like you just, like, before I went to England, I knew that England was very, very important to me. And when I got there, I actually remember landing for the first time in England. I was like, oh, I'm home. You know, like, it was like this weird soul. I mean, obviously I'm from Connecticut. My home's Connecticut, but but you know, like, it was that almost like this nudge within me that it was a familiar place for me. And I felt like that conversation I had with whatever energy, you know, was at Heathrow, I guess. I don't know. But whatever energy I encounter when I go there, it feels right to me. And I lived in England for years as a result of just, you know, falling in love with it. And kind of just even thinking here too, like Nashville. I loved the energy of Nashville, but I also felt like it was it was tough for me. Like, I felt like I was very, very stagnant there a lot. Like, I had a lot of trouble moving through projects, moving through personal transformation. And that's not to say that, you know, almost feels like astrology, like the placement wasn't right for me, but for somebody else, it's just exactly what they need. And so, I don't know. And then there's people who go to certain places because they say it's healing. There's certain places that people say are, you know, magical or haunted.
Sedona.
You know, and it's so interesting. I really wanted to move out to, so like I was saying to you before we started recording, we just moved to Georgia, like in August. And one of the places I was thinking of moving was to the desert and to Sedona and all that. But I've never even been out there before. So it just didn't work out. But I know that people love it there. But then I also know people who are like, no, I don't like it. Like, they're like, nah, I'm going to skip over Sedona. You should check out Utah. But then I think, like, Utah, isn't that where like Skinwalker Ranch is?
Yeah. Yes. One of my friends that I met through the show, Adam Tala, lives in Utah, and he has been doing a lot of travel videos. He just went to Skinwalker Ranch today. He sent me a video.
Wow.
He's had some crazy experiences at Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah. And, you know, and so that also makes me think of going back to the spirit of place, or the magic of place too is, you know, people go to Skinwalker Ranch and they're like, wow, I had these really crazy experiences and I really enjoyed it. And then there are other people who are like, oh, hell no. Like, I don't need to go there, or they have this really horrible encounter.
Yeah.
So it's just finding what place are you energetically compatible with. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, I really need to get out to Utah and that whole area and, you know, hike it.
I'll have to put you in touch with Adam then, because he's, yeah, absolutely. And you should listen to that episode of the show, because he talks about a crazy experience that he had that made him say that he would never go back at night.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know if, like, I'm more into, like, I just want to, like, you know, have a brush with the good folk, or see, you know, and I've had UFO experiences where I've seen UFOs. I've had a couple, like, the middle of Nashville, Tennessee experiences, and I'm cool with that because I could still go home, take a deep breath, you know, say my goodnight prayers and go to bed. Like, I feel like you can't do that with Skinwalker Ranch. Like, you're just like, I'm not going to sleep for 3 days.
Yeah.
It's too much, but I'm so grateful for the work that the researchers do put into a place like that. Well, and I remember there was like I watched some documentary on it, and Robbie Williams was, he was like, you know, boy band singer. I can't remember the name of it. Anyways, there's a Skinwalker Ranch documentary that I know that's really popular, and, you know, Skinwalker Ranch has gotten a lot of, you know, attention, so much so that popular ex-boy band members are going out there to go check it out too and see if they can have some sort of encounter. But it sounds like everything happens out there. So like, it doesn't matter do you want Bigfoot? We've got Bigfoot. Do you want shapeshifters? We got that too. Like UFOs, no problem. Strange sounds, we got it, so I think that's really interesting. So what is it there that's creating that kind of, I don't know. Like it's like a big supernatural soup.
Yeah. Adam's ongoing theory is that it presents itself as whatever you want it to present itself as.
Wow.
He had an experience where they were out late, him and his group were out late, and they had been sitting up on a ridge, and there's a reservation nearby, and the reservation police don't like, people out, on their land, and as they were getting ready to leave, he had the thought that we're going to get busted by the police. I just know it. And they saw these police lights coming toward them. And when they got to a certain distance, they disappeared. And then they had an experience with a 8-foot gray alien, like peering into their car.
Oh, no,
they took off. And that was why he said, I'm never going back there at night because of that.
See, this is what you need to tell Adam. When he goes out there, they all have to put the intention out there that they see a unicorn. A unicorn that gifts them GameStop stocks, or like gold or so, like if it presents itself as you want it, as you desire to see it. I mean, like that to me goes back to the intentions of working magic. Like that's like the foundation is that, if you put your intention into it, and you really hone in on your practice, like, are you going to get what you envisioned or set out into the universe? So that might be an interesting experience to go to Skinwalker. It almost makes me think of like, in the Harry Potter, what was the monster that came out of the closet, and it was supposed to look like the scariest thing, the thing that you're most afraid of. But if you set your intentions correctly, you can make it turn into something funny that made you feel good. I wonder if that's the case in a place like this, or if it's just too far beyond that, because everybody that goes there knows that they're going to be terrified potentially.
Yeah, and at this point, there's so much of a history of people seeing and having these negative experiences. How much of that is soaked in?
Right. Or how much is it just like straight up negative? Like, what if it's just a negative area? Like, who knows?
Could be. I don't know. I haven't been. I don't know that I want to go.
I don't know either, but unless I could see Care Bears and unicorns at Skinwalker.
There's another book. I mean, make that happen, and that'd be one hell of a story.
Golly, yeah, we'll see. But or it would be funny to go to Skinwalker Ranch and put the intention out there of some sort of Kentucky experience. Like, I want to see the Hopkinsville goblins, or whatever from Kentucky, and see if it appears. Like, is there some sort of portal?
Maybe there's just a big purple grid work.
I love it. This is great. This is so interesting to have these conversations and, to think about this stuff. But yeah. I'll have to get to Utah. I hear it's beautiful.
If you like desert, yeah.
Never seen it.
No, me either. I am very familiar with the vast landscape of corn and the smell of pigs. I have traveled to Texas, but it wasn't anything special as far as landscape goes. I've been to Canada. Neither of those places really satisfied that desert itch of Utah, but
well, you'll have to go like to the east or to the west, like make it to the Rockies or make it to the Appalachians, and see if the mountains present some sort of different experience or feeling for you.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of places I would love to go for sure. Absolutely.
It'd be a long road trip though to the Rockies. Oh, yeah. Good grief.
Oh yeah. My cousin lives in Wyoming right now, so I would probably just fly and then drive from Wyoming.
Yeah, that sounds. I'll be ready for the pandemic to be over so we could start adventuring again and I could start going to places. I know that I'm starting to collect the list of places that I'm hoping to get to. So.
Yeah, I've been saddled with this incredible burden of starting the show during the pandemic, and now I have this giant list of places and things, and I can't do any of them.
Have you felt like that all of your shows have tied together in some sort of way yet?
You know, this is a tough question. I'm supposed to be putting you on the spot. What's going on here? The tables have turned. You know, I think, overwhelmingly, since this big synchronicity of Kentucky happened in my life, yes.
Wow.
Yes, 100%.
Wow, that's great to know. See, it's all worth it, having these discussions with people and seeing that it all kind of like weaves together in a web somehow or a story somehow is really spectacular. It's all worth it.
It all comes back to Kentucky.
It does. It does.
Where the waters mingle.
Everybody is so nice there.
Yeah. Interesting stuff, right?
Yeah, and people have weird stuff that happens to them at land between the lakes also.
Yeah, there's a Dogman tale of Land Between the Lakes, I think.
No kidding. I heard like people have like demonic experiences and all sorts of like unpleasant ghost encounters, but Dogmen. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's great. And you know, I was thinking too before we started talking, like I was looking at like liminal earth entries in Tennessee. I should probably pull them up for Kentucky right now while we're talking too. But like there's one in Tennessee where somebody says that they saw like a big cat person. It's the other area of the state, but that's interesting. So weird stuff happening in Kentucky and in Tennessee. Mm-hmm.
So while we're on the subject, why don't you tell people about the Liminal Earth project?
Yeah, sure. So Liminal Earth is this amazing, it's basically an interactive online map that was put together by Garrett Kelly and Jeremy Puma. They're out in Seattle, which is really cool. I've never been out there, but I want to go out there someday and hopefully hang out with them and get some sort of cool, you know, vegan lunch with them or something. I don't know. So Liminal Earth, it's this interactive map experience where anybody can go to the website, which is liminal.earth, and add an entry to this like interactive map. And you can also visit the map anywhere in the world, and wherever people have had like high strangeness, weird, you can actually make an entry about the weird dreams that you've had, your own personal experiences. There's one in Tennessee where somebody like talks about seeing like a random bag of lettuce that they can't explain. Like there's like all sorts of weird stuff, all the way from people having like fairy and, you know, UFO sightings, all the way to, you know, strange stuff like people seeing giant deer and seeing giant cats. The map is just so fascinating, and there are ambassadors all over the place. So people that sort of like support different regions and different states. And I had been supporting with Tennessee. I'm not in Tennessee anymore, but I'm still all about Liminal Earth and just making sure that they get all the attention they deserve. Because basically, wherever you are in the world, you can go on and add your entry. And it's interesting because once you go on Liminal Earth and you look at the map, you start to see these little spots where there's lots of stuff. So like while we've been talking, I pulled up the map, and lo and behold, there's tons of stuff in Evansville. So they need some love in Kentucky. I know that there are people that have had experiences in Kentucky that are weird. They need to add that. But a little north of Kentucky, there is stuff in Evansville that has happened. And so you could go ahead and just like read about people's stuff. Oh, so here's somebody, Oh, Holly. She's an ambassador. She's written about, the lizard man swimming in the Ohio River near Dogtown. So there's like I just think that it's such a fascinating project. And I think that in addition to collecting all this really interesting data, I mean, if you're visiting a place, like going back to the idea about talking about an energy of a place or the spirit of a place, like liminal.earth can be, it could be a map for you to try and figure out, well, I kind of want to have an encounter like this. Maybe I should go here. So maybe it could be a little tour map for you along the way. But the goal is to just have as many people include their experiences as possible. And people have some weird, like I just clicked on one right now, toy robot apparition. So it's like people just will add anything. So it'll take you all over the world. It'll take you to see some really weird stuff. Lots of things in Utah, lots of stuff listed in Utah. So you could just skim over the map, find where you are, see if there's anything in that location. If there isn't and you've had an encounter, you could go ahead and click to add your own story. So your experience gets on the map and it helps, create a story and perhaps we could start, connecting experiences in certain locations together.
Yeah. While you have it pulled up, let's review some Evansville because I have spent a considerable amount of time in Evansville.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. Like it's like my little secret place that I kind of enjoy a lot. So let's take a look. Ooh, here's one. Holly is just so good. She's just posted so much stuff. So we have, I really want to go into the lizard man.
Let's do it.
This is an older tale. It says, in the summer of 1955, a local man reported that he was grabbed and pulled underwater by a lizard man while swimming in the Ohio River. So there's something about the Ohio River. So while he was swimming in the Ohio River near Dogtown, he was pulled underwater by a lizard man. That same summer, there was a sighting of 10 goblin-like creatures in the city. This was also the same year the Hopkinsville Goblins incident took place, just a little over an hour away.
Was that like the football field or something along those lines?
I don't know.
I remember a story about these small goblin creatures in Evansville or somewhere. I might be combining stories that in the same year, in the same time frame as the Hopkinsville encounter, and I think that was 55.
I don't know. There is a book that you can get to find out. Evansville Monsters, Weird Tales of Goblins, Ghoulies, and Ghosts. So maybe
adding it to the list.
Yeah. So maybe that will help you. It sounds to me like there's a lot of stuff going on at the Ohio River. So it's kind of like the fun thing. So now it's like, okay, so now I'm on liminal Earth. I'm like, well, let's see. I'm just going to follow the Ohio River and see what else I could find. It kind of brings me back. See, I'm going to go up to West Virginia again for a minute too. I was really lucky that I got to go spend some time up in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. And I know there was like a popular TV show about Shepherdstown, and I was really fortunate, to go up there and visit. And that's like on water too. And there's also this like belief that strange stuff happens wherever there's running water.
Yeah.
And so I remember that about Shepherdstown was that, it was on the Potomac and there were all these canals going through the town and just this constant running water and this space of total high strangeness and strange stuff happening. And so now I'm like, because we're talking about Kentucky, I'm like, so what is it about the Ohio River? right? Like,
yeah.
what's going on by the Ohio River that's so interesting. And so that might be where I go, you know, onto Liminal Earth, and I start looking and seeing if anybody else has posted anything. It looks like Holly is you know, she's wonderful, and she's on Twitter too. She might be a wealth of knowledge on different stories that happen in that area too. So anyways, that's the long and the short of it with Liminal Earth. It's just a lot of fun, and I encourage everybody to go on there and add an entry. You know, I've added a few of the things that have happened to me in Tennessee. You know, I think that Nashville had some really strange stuff going on there. I think that Tennessee in general is really interesting, and you know, it's not the Kentucky that we've been talking about, but you know, I've seen UFOs in Nashville. You know, I've had some strange experiences there. So having this map is just it's a cool resource to be able to see, like, well, are other people having experiences too? Ah, they are. They are.
I have pulled the map up a while back, and you know, my area, I always say that nothing happens here, but then the longer that I do the show and talk to people, it triggers these, like, you know, just repressed memories of things people have told me, and it turns out, you know, more stuff happens here than I thought. And it's just this weird thing with these paranormal events that you experience something, and then, like, it just goes to, like, the back of your mind, and you forget all about it.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's kind of cool too when something triggers that memory. So like when you were asking me, like, well, how did you get started? And the memory that was triggered was this, like, you know, like these weird, dreamy, you know, experiences I had as a super, super young child that, you know, I normally would never have at the forefront of my mind, you know, so, you know, I think that they reappear in our memory for a reason. And I think that it's really awesome too that you're starting to have this, like, thread go through your podcasts and maybe having these conversations with people or looking at this map. It's triggering more of those memories. And I just say, you know, go down the rabbit hole and enjoy it and see what else you can find and discover.
Yeah, it's really interesting whenever I bring someone on who I haven't really spoken to. A perfect example is you. And you start talking about, you know, this area of Kentucky, and it happens a lot where people have these, you know, stories and these connections. It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's such a great area. It really is. I encourage everybody after the pandemic to, you know, go, you know, fly into Louisville and just, you know, or if you're a hiker, there's so many good forests out that way, and, you know, you could totally explore everything. I think it's really energetically, really, it's just very welcoming for me, at least. You know, I don't know if I'd feel the same way in maybe the Mammoth Caves. But at least, like, you know, and I know that this isn't in Kentucky, it's across the river, but Shawnee is really wonderful. And
yes.
on the other side of Kentucky is Daniel Boone. Just to the south of Daniel Boone is Big South Fork. And I'm very, very familiar with that from being in Tennessee and hiking and camping all through Big South Fork. And it's a very, very healing energy. And, you know, so going back to that spirit of place, I kind of feel that way about, you know, the mountains, in Tennessee and, you know, the whole Appalachian mountains. I feel like they're just so ancient and so reverent and so incredible. I've had such profound, it's almost like you download a spiritual lesson. I almost like look at the AT as almost like the chakra system. Like you start in Georgia at the root and you're going to have this profound experience and going all the way up to Maine, you know, to the crown. There's just beautiful, profound experiences along the whole way, and there's a ton of high strangeness. Thinking of Georgia, and this is almost something I should put on the liminal Earth map. In Georgia, there is a place called, what's it called? It's called Fort Mountain State Park. And, believe it or not, it's actually, it's right by the AT. So it's pretty close to the base of the AT. It isn't exactly there, but it's right down the road. And, it's very mountainous. It's very beautiful. And believe it or not, it's not very far from Atlanta either. So if you're more in the Atlanta area, this is pretty accessible. I ended up there by accident. I got lost trying to find the AT. I got so lost, I ended up just pulling into a bank, on a random highway in the middle of random Georgia, and just said, hey, can you tell me what road I have to take to get to whatever, the trailhead for the AT or whatever it was that I was looking for. And he was like, yeah, sure, but I really think you should go to Fort Mountain. I was like, okay. And they're like, Fort Mountain is right up the road, but we really think you should check that out because it's really incredible. So I went and lo and behold, Fort Mountain has all of these really unusual, walls, I guess. They almost look like very low walls or maybe they were fences at some point. But the interesting thing is that the Cherokee said that they didn't build them. They're like, we didn't build them. The Moon-Eyed people built them. And so apparently they believed that at Fort Mountain there was this race of people, I guess is the best way to put it, or this tribe of people called they called them the Moon-Eyed people. And they called them that because they only came out at night. And so it was they were also very fair. They lived in the hills. And I found that to be so amazing. And talk about, strange, I guess that's synchronistic too, where I went in trying to go somewhere else and somebody was like, no, you need to go to Fort Mountain. And I went there and found all of these strange little, apparently these stone walls, some people suggest that maybe there's some sort of astronomical alignment, but I don't know. I guess I would have to follow up on that and talk to an expert. But, knowing that there are legends of this strange race of people that only come out at night and they live in the mountains, wow, that's where I landed up to go hiking. But I think that it was really interesting too, because, the energy there was so incredible. There were these different peaks where you could go out and kind of go and look out into the mountains. And when I was up there, it was really foggy. It was kind of a misty day, so it was really cloudy. But I really felt moved. I felt emotionally connected to, I kept saying the Great Spirit is here. I felt it. There's something very magical about that mountain, that whole mountain range. It's very old. It's very sacred. And, I think that people that get to experience it really probably feel the same way. I'm assuming that there's a lot of scary stuff that happens along that way too. But I didn't experience it. So I've always had good stuff happen there. But I was saying to you too, I'm not going to go to Skinwalker Ranch because I try and avoid the super scary stuff. I'm not the type of person that needs to go to, do a paranormal investigation at an insane asylum or, a place where tons and tons of murders happened. It's just not, it's just, I'm too sensitive and I'm like a scared cat. You clap and I'll jump and run to the other. I'm too sensitive. So instead I just look for having experiences with the energy of a place, because I find it to be a lot more healing and wholesome and a lot more easy and tender in many ways. But surely it can't be that way everywhere. I'll find places that I'm like, oh, I went there and I felt terrible and it was scary. I'll come back on and I'll tell you all about it. Maybe it will be Skinwalker Ranch someday, who knows? Or maybe the Mammoth Caves, I don't know.
That'd be terrific. Yeah. Always looking to tie episodes together, and sometimes it happens naturally and sometimes it doesn't, but if you went in either of those directions, I could definitely tie episodes together and bring people together you know, like if it was a Skinwalker thing, I could bring you and Adam together, and if it's Mammoth Cave system, I can bring you and the Pennyroyal guys together, and have all these contacts now. It's great.
Yeah, I'll be up that way for sure. As long, as I get my vaccinations and everybody is safe and life is improving this summer, I most certainly will be in the Tennessee and Kentucky region. I'm teaching at Pagan Unity Festival in June, which I'm really looking forward to. It's a lot of fun. So, and that's in the woods in Tennessee. Which is wonderful. And then hopefully after that I could head up north to Kentucky and remote work from an Airbnb and then go looking for goblins and Bigfoot by night.
Yeah. Good luck with being able to work remotely, and internet connections in Kentucky are sparse and poor.
Oh no. All right. Well,
do some research first.
I'll have to call out sick.
Yes, I'm saving some vacation time for post-pandemic 2021 so I can go back down to Kentucky.
I'm excited to hear about everybody's adventures, when they get back out in the world. And I think, too, that, hopefully when we look back at everything we went through, we could at least say that, during this time when we were, kind of holed up in our homes or, everybody obviously had varying experiences and a lot of people had a lot of difficulties and hopefully we can reflect and kind of say, well, where did I grow from this experience? Where did I, a lot of people I know took up different hobbies or they started learning or researching something. I know that a lot of people also dealt with some really horrific tragedies and,
yes.
Just getting through day by day is the most important thing. And even that too, maybe we'll look back and we'll be able to say like, I don't know how I got through it.
I've been, I don't know if you want to call it lucky, but my wife and I are both considered essential. And so our life really hasn't changed a whole lot this last year. We still get up and go to work every day. We don't, go out and eat, or do as much, brick and mortar shopping as we would normally do, but we're kind of homebodies anyway. So for us, it's really just kind of been boring. And we've been lucky that we haven't really had any brushes with, health scares or our families. But, and it's been really prosperous for me with the show. I mean, I started in the spring and, this will be my 20th recording actually.
Wow. That's a lot. Well, congratulations. Yeah. See, it's interesting too that, this crazy time is happening and people are finding opportunities to try and do something different or something special. Starting a podcast is such, I just think it's awesome. And I'm so grateful that you're, sharing these stories, about yourself and with other guests. I can't wait to listen to the rest of the episode that I started with, with Seth Breedlove and the Small Town Monsters. And so, yeah.
It was a good one. That was actually, I did that last night. I pulled like a doubleheader and I recorded, edited, and published the episode before daybreak.
Whew, wow. That's good. That's a couple monster drinks and an extra cup of coffee.
Actually, I had my traditional monster, during the show, and then I switched to water. So
hydration.
Fueled on H2O last night into the wee hours.
Very good.
Yeah, I need to pump out some more of a buffer area of episodes because I've been sitting on an interview with Kyle Cadell from the International Paranormal Museum and Research Center in Somerset. I have to spread it out because I just had the Pennyroyal episode 10, and he's connected with that. So I want to spread it out so it doesn't look like I'm collecting, that certain topic at that time. So I expect yours will be pumped out by next weekend. So.
Oh, fun. I'm so excited.
Then I can get Kyle's out, and then I'm back to having a buffer. I don't feel so pressured. That's the worst thing about a podcast is the editing, and I'm never satisfied with what I put out. Like, I feel like I should have done this differently, or I should have done that differently, but I can't take it down and re-upload it, because then I lose all the stats from that episode. I don't want to do that. I don't want to start it over. So I just have to deal with it and move on.
Yeah, and it's a learning experience with every single one. So like, you're just going to, improve a little bit every single time. Sounds like it sounds like you're kicking ass and taking names. And lots of notes too.
Yep. Actually, as of this recording today, I was moved up to number 1 in documentary podcast on my podcast host, Podomatic. So you're the first guest at number 1.
Yes. Well, congratulations to you, and what an awesome honor.
See how long I hold true. I'm at 575 overall. So, I mean, that's out of, tens of thousands of shows. So that's pretty incredible.
Wow. Oh, that's wonderful. I was so happy to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah. I take a little pride, not necessarily pride. I don't want to word this poorly. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't sell anything. I don't take any money from anybody. You can't even buy a Paranormal Patio t-shirt or make a donation to the show. And I feel it's important for me that this stays a passion project and not a business or a job. I don't need to make money off of it. Like, my day job pays me well. And so I've made a point that, like, there's no Patreon content. There's, and I don't have a problem with people who do that. I mean, I'm a patron for several Patreon.
Ditto.
So, and, I'm wearing a t-shirt from the International Paranormal Museum right now. Like, I absolutely support people who do that, but I've always taken the approach of, this is strictly a passion project, and I've managed to get this far on that. So we'll see how far we can go with it.
Well, and that's amazing. And you could always do a donation thing for something that's really near and dear to your heart. So you take donations to help somebody or help a cause, or.
Yeah, I have thought about that. I think maybe for my Halloween event this year, we'll do some sort of a charity thing. Very nice. Halloween's always such a good time to have a conversation and round up the paranormal troops. Yeah. So I had the week of Halloween, I had a hair-raising horror week on the show. And every day of the week of Halloween, I put out a new episode. So I was really stressed and constantly promoting that week, and it paid off. But then I was planning on taking a break because it's the Paranormal Patio, because I record in my patio, and it's October then, and it's starting to get cold. I'm like, man, I have to stop, but I had all this momentum from Hair Raising Horror Week, and so that was about the time that Nathan from Pennyroyal contacted me about coming on the show. And at first I was like, yeah, absolutely, I want to have you on, but like, I'm taking a break right now. I'll have to get back with you. And then like 3 days later, I'm like, I can't not do this. So now I'm operating in the paranormal garage with a space heater. And, very nice. And so I'm digging through all like this giant schedule. Like, I had you scheduled fairly far out from whenever we first talked. And I'm booked solid through the end of March. That's exciting. So I have all kinds of stories coming from all sorts of different people, and I'm really excited. That's very exciting. Yeah. We'll see how many of those are connected to Kentucky. I know. I don't even try. I had no idea that you knew anything about Kentucky. And here we are. Yeah, I need to, I can't wait to get back.
But I dated somebody who grew up in Lexington, and so I went up into Lexington quite a bit. And I remember that you would always drive by Versailles. I always called it Versailles, but it's Versailles in Kentucky. I don't know. I have very good fond memories of it. It's a sacred place. And I think that one thing I'll say too, kind of like just thinking about everything we've talked about tonight, and even going back to the whole idea of the liminal earth map, is that wherever you are in the world, there's an opportunity to have a unique, encounter. And even thinking about what you were saying about, Skinwalker Ranch and putting out into the universe, like what you want to see is what you receive. What if where you are, you just said, I really need to have, a spiritual lesson, one that's of benefit to me and is, if you want to be like really clear, like not harmful, I just want to have like a profound emotional connection with the world around me. Maybe something will happen, or, and I know that there's that fun, I tried it and I don't know if it's cool anymore. I really don't. Like, I can't keep up with things anymore. It was called Randonautica. Yeah, Randonautica.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something too that people could use. I don't know if it, like, I did it a few times and it was really interesting. It took me to some really weird places in Nashville that I didn't know existed. And I need to try it again here on the Georgia coast and see where it takes me, because I don't know anything around here yet other than where to get a really good, dinner, seafood dinner, and where to find the best seashells on the beach. But I think that wherever you are in the world, something interesting is waiting to happen. I think that, I think that we do live in really monumental times. And I think that maybe on the other side, or maybe in a past life, or maybe amongst our, whatever you want to call it, spirit tribe on the other side, we said, I really want to be here for 2020 and watch all this stuff go down.
If you had any awareness of that, you'd be like, no, fool, go back.
Let me try again. Another time. I don't know.
All right. Well, I've had you on here for quite some time, and I have enjoyed every single second of it. But alas, all good things must come to an end. And hopefully we'll be able to have you back on the show in the future, because I think we have a lot more to talk about.
I think so too. I would love to come back on, especially when the Curious Future comes out, and also after I get to Tennessee and Kentucky. Hopefully we could like sync up and maybe exchange what has happened between now and then. Yeah,
absolutely. And always contact me with anything that's in any way related to anything that we've talked about.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for letting me, come on and talk to you about all these really fascinating topics. It's been a blast.
Thank you for coming on. It's been great. Before you go, though, tell everybody at home how they can find you online and in the real world as far as your books that'll be coming out and all that good stuff. Yeah,
sure. So I am a contributing writer to a book that should be out and available in February called 100 Love Spells. And then I will have my own book, A Curious Future, out sometime this year. I don't have a date yet, but you could find me at KikiDombrowski.com. You can also just Google Kiki Tarot if you don't want to spell it out. You'll find me that way. I'm not very consistent on social media, but I do love making friends on Twitter. That's probably the best place to get a hold of me. And my name on Twitter is KikiD333.
333. Why 333?
It's a sacred number, 3. That number of creation, that number of the circle, that number of the cycle. It's just a very, very powerful number, and then 3 times to me. So yeah, I just went for 333.
Rock and roll. I just want to see what your explanation would be.
How was it? Was it okay?
Yeah. Flying colors. All right. That's another episode in the books, guys. Paranormal Patio continues to roll right on through into 2021. It's been great so far. Tons more on the way. My guest tonight, Kiki Dombrowski, thank you so much. And I definitely can't wait to connect up again in the future and see where we both are.
Right on. Thank you.
Until next time, keep the fire going.